AITAH for not giving my siblings a percentage of house our mother lived in. Original post February 25, 2026. I 35F bought my first house when I was 23 for me and my mom to live in after renting for many years. I paid the $80,000 deposit, and my mom helped with the mortgage, paying $300 a week while we lived there together. I did this because I didn't want to live alone or pay rent to someone else, which allowed for I to improve my finances. When I moved out at 27 with my husband and later had 3 kids, my mom started paying $450 a week, and I covered the rest of the mortgage, which wasn't much. Now my mom has passed away, and my 2 sisters, 38 and 40, think they should get part of the house. I don't agree. They say since I already own another house, I don't need it, and they want to split it 3 ways and rent it out. I've said no because my husband and I do not want to rent it out as it hurts me to think of someone else in my mother's house and I know they couldn't afford the mortgage and their own bills. Because of this, they've started arguing, calling me selfish because they think I already have everything and they don't. But I have not spent over $200,000 on that house just to give it to someone else for free. They also believe that since house prices have gone up significantly that I'm to earn an extra couple $100,000, which I might, but I always paid for the property taxes and any maintenance needed. However, I do know my mother spent her money on this house over the years and are forever grateful she could help me out, so I offered each $5,000, which is all I can spare after having to pay for most of my mother's funeral and headstone. But they believe it's not enough and are continuing to argue with me about this. Have any of you experienced this? Edit. I've read most of your comments, and most of you think I'm not the aso, thank you. Sorry I couldn't reply to everyone, but there were just too many, especially with the kids keeping me busy. Little update too. My middle sister called again, saying I'm being greedy and that her daughter should get a share too. I love my niece as she's my only niece and very special to me, but I still said no. In my mind, she's always welcome to stay at my home or the other house anytime once everything is sorted. But she won't receive any percentage of the house because her mother didn't contribute anything. I told my sister to stop calling about it, or she wouldn't be welcome at my house. I don't want my children hearing or seeing their mom and aunt arguing, nor do I want my niece to hear. She said that was fine because she wouldn't want to visit someone so greedy anyway. Just for newcomers, as I know some are confused. I'm solely on the deed. No arrangement was made. Mother paid well below market rent. 2 houses down just listed their house for $650 weekly. Commenter 1. Wait a minute. You bought this house and it's in your name presumably and they want it why? Because your mom lived there? Is this house entirely in your name? Did your mom have any stake in the game? Oop. Yes, that's why they want it. They think they're entitled to it because she paid half and lived in it, so they see it as partly hers. But the house is fully in my name. Honestly, I always thought of it as my mom's house and never really saw it any other way, but I won't ever say that to them. Commenter 2. NTA. If you hadn't bought that house your mother would have continued renting, so the money she spent on the mortgage would still not be there, anyway, and there would be nothing for your siblings to ask for. At least, that's the way I look at it. The money your mother spent was the same as paying rent, it just so happens that you were the landlord. It's your house, do with it what you wish. Oop. That's how I see it. Thank you. Needed clarification from unbiased people as all I've heard these past weeks was I was in the wrong and began doubting myself. Commenter 3. I don't think this is an AITAH and more a question of math and estate law. Your mother presumably had a will, figure that out and discuss what's fair based on her estate. One would logically assume that no, they are not entitled to your house just because your mother lived in it. But if she did make significant investments into the house, that is a factor and you all need to discuss that. Oop. My husband contacted our lawyer about this and said they had no claim legally. Caused a bit of a rift for a bit, but now I understand it. I just needed an if I was the asshole or not. Commenter 4. NTA. People tend to show their true colors around a death. Assuming your mom's name was not on the deed, your sibs have no more legal right to the house than if she had rented from a regular landlord all these years. Now if your mom is on the deed and actually a co-owner, no matter who paid what, they probably have a claim to half the house. They can argue whatever they want, you are under no obligation to pay unless ordered by a court. Grief doesn't excuse bad behavior. Time to go gray rock and lower contact until they can down. Or not. And if they don't, well, you know your relationship was never worth more than a few $1,000s to them and it's time to move on. Oop. She was never on the deed, not because I didn't want her to be, but because she wouldn't have qualified financially. I do love my siblings, but keeping distance is what's best, and I've already been doing that slowly. I try to only talk to them about arranging family time with the kids or of random things like TV. Other than that, I keep conversations very limited, especially if it's about the house or arguments, often saying I have to go as I do not wish to argue. And thankfully the kids are very good at distracting and calling upon Oop explains more on how she saved $80,000 as a 23 years old at the time. Oop. Very difficult but barely ever spent money. Believe from 16 to 20 I probably spent close to $100 to $300 a year, and before that every ounce of money I earned I saved as never went anywhere, nor needed to spend own money. Made my money from jobs. High interest savings account. Marketplace sales, found items on side of road, picked up free items near house and cleaned out dead people's homes. I remember making $300 on average a month for a 1.5 years straight, but also 2 months I remember making probably $900 from selling Pokemon cards. Completely amazed by this and did this for a few years. Barely ever spent any cafeteria money parents gave me, roughly $20 weekly for 2 years straight, birthday money over years. But I was never rich, parents were probably lower class people growing up, barely having any money, so I wished to save and try and change this and I did. Commenter 5. NTA and your siblings can get to stepping. You purchased that house with your money. Your name is on the title and mortgage, not your mother's. Your mother rented the house from you, or was a tenant in some form. Renters/tenants do not have any legal ownership over the places they rent from. Your siblings have no legal leg to stand in and they're jealous of your success. You didn't get everything, you work for the things you own. I would heavily suggest getting new locks on the doors, making sure all the windows are locked and some security cameras. Edit to add, do not give your siblings any money. Your mom helping you by putting money into the house was kindness, not an obligation. It would be the same if she gave them money for things they needed. Car repair, moving costs, college, new furniture, etc. Oop. The house already has cameras, and they have no keys to the house, don't worry. And she definitely gave them money for groceries and furniture always. She always cared for them as she did. I update. March 16, 2026. AITAH for not giving my siblings a percentage of house our mother lived in. Update. If you have not read my previous post and are interested, then you should. Update. About 2 days after I made the post, I ended up speaking with both of my sisters and we had a long conversation. It took a while, but things eventually calmed and we were able to talk properly again. At first they insisted they should have a share of the house, but I went through everything I've paid over the year as the owner. I explained the repairs I handled while wasn't living there, the renovations, installing security cameras, property taxes, mortgage rate increases and the constant upkeep of the house. When they heard the full picture, they both admitted those ongoing costs weren't something they could realistically afford themselves. I also got the sense that my eldest sister never really cared about owning part of the house and always believed it was mine anyway. Once she said that out loud, my other sister eventually agreed too and the argument finally settled. That same day we also sorted through our mom's belongings together. We each kept the things we personally gave to our mother and shared out the rest. In the end I kept most of the furniture simply because neither of them wanted it. The house is now mostly set up the same as before, but I've kept my mom's personal belongings in her room. Now that some time has passed, I've decided to turn the house into a small holiday home that the whole family can use. When I told my sisters, they were happy and thankful. I did explain there would be a few rules though: no parties, remove all food before leaving, and if something gets broken it needs to be replaced. I also said I wouldn't expect them to pay any household bills, but there would be a cleaning fee. The maid who used to come weekly for my mom now comes every third week and after any weekend visit. She washes sheets, remakes beds, and cleans the entire house. I told them the cost is about $90 plus a tip. One sister wasn't happy and said she wasn't paying for my maid, but I explained when I stayed there recently I paid it myself and it's actually reasonable considering she comes on short notice and has to clean everything, when doesn't do that each visit. So, I explained to my sisters that it really wasn't about making money from them. It's simply about sanitation. If the house sits closed up for weeks without being properly cleaned, it will start to smell. I also used the example of I staying at my husband's parents' holiday home many times, and every time we always pay the cleaning fee and usually leaves a small gift as well. It's just respectful and a way of saying, thank you for using the place. My sister kept arguing though, saying I was just trying to take money from her, which honestly isn't the case. I even explained that the maid doesn't change the sheets every single visit unless I ask and I pay extra. I only plan to have them fully changed before our own family stays because we have small kids. These things have to be planned ahead around school and after school activities and are never spontaneous. I then told them we were planning to visit as a family in about 2 weeks and that both sisters and my niece could come too. Since we would all be there together, they wouldn't have to pay the cleaning fee that time. The plan was for my husband and I to sleep with our youngest in mom's old room, the older 2 kids to share the next room with their cousin, one sister to take the other bedroom, and the other sister to use the fold-out couch. Everyone agreed and we ended up staying last Saturday and Sunday. Honestly, we enjoyed ourselves. I was happy and took heaps of photos. However, when my husband took the kids out for a bit, my younger sister started making judgmental comments about the house like, you think you're better than us because you have this house, and you could easily rent this out and make real money instead of letting it sit here. She also said things like, must be nice owning 2 houses whilst making us still pay your bills. At that point I'd honestly had enough. I told her to stop, and that if she continued making comments like that she wouldn't be welcome to stay next time. She replied that I would just use the house against her every time we argued. I told her the only time I would is if she insults me in my own home, especially when I've only tried to be kind and include everyone. I then told her she had until dinner time to change her attitude, otherwise we would go out to dinner without her and I wouldn't be paying for hers. In the end she decided to leave early, and we haven't spoken since. Love her but had enough and just found out she isn't speaking to my other sister as she took my side. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Condolences on the loss of your mom. I don't understand how some individuals come across the notion that when others work hard, save, make sound decisions financially, educational-wise etc., they think they are entitled to that person largesse. It appears that even though your sister agreed on the surface about you owning the home, she wants you to rent it out and give her a share of the proceeds. What part about the maid couldn't she understand? Was she expecting the maid to work for free? If she used the family, was she, your younger sister, going to clean it? Did she think the maid was a direct employee of yours and you were getting a kickback? A person cleaning and washing for $90, lol, in the US most charge more just for cleaning alone. All you did was above and beyond what most would do. It's telling how she aired her remarks when your other sister wasn't around. Why didn't she speak up when you discussed the house arrangement instead of after? What more does she think she is entitled to? Jealousy and envy is an ugly thing. Oop. She didn't think I even needed a maid, trusting me to manage with 3 young children, which is a lot of work. I only have the maid because she worked with my mother, and I definitely couldn't maintain 2 households alone. She's also actually my older sister, but I never got the chance to explain that before she became annoyed. Commenter 2. $90 for a house cleaning? I usually pay $200 for my 1700 SF house. Your sister is crazy for complaining about that. Don't let her stay there. Oop. $90. She's an older woman who works independently. Usually she makes $30 an hour plus a $30 tip, as we've known her for so long and she's amazing. I've tried to increase her wage, but she won't let me, so I always just leave a tip and note to say, thank you. She is incredibly cheap, but these visits are only really to fix the bedrooms and do a little cleaning while waits to wash. Commenter 3. Would be easier to just sell the house and put the money into a retirement account for yourself. Or education account for your kids. Probably, but before my mom died we spoke about giving it to my children and I want to keep that idea and give it to my kids.